How large is your garden and what's the soil like?
It's about 21 feet wide by 180 feet long, and the soil's pretty neutral.
When did you come here? When did you start making your garden?
We moved here about 16 years ago, and when we came it was a typical English back garden, which is a long lawn, big lawn, with 2 beds down either side with herbaceous plants in it. And so many gardens in England are like that.
What were your wishes? What did you want out from your garden?
Well, I quite like the idea of a garden that stayed pretty much the same all year round. And that's why most of the plants in the garden are evergreens. And I didn't want to interrupt the view from one end of the garden to the other. Although it is a bit interrupted now because things have overgrown. I need to cut things back. And to have little secret places where you could sit.
So what would you say, how many years did it take you to make the garden, to complete it?
It took, I would think, about 10 years. And now it's just a case of maintaining it and cutting things back.
Did you plant small trees and shrubs?
Very small, but as you can see they've grown quite a lot. And some of them have grown better than I thought they would. So now I have to cut things back quite seriously. You know, but I quite like that about this garden, because a lot of gardens, there's a lot of maintenance involved. You always have to be doing something. With this garden you don't really. It reached a point where it took care of itself. So to have something to do is quite nice.
How much maintenance does it require?
Not very much. All I do is trim the shrubs, just keep them nice and trimmed. But as I said, sometimes I let them grow a little bit too much. So some of them have got too big really. So I have to be a bit strict with them.
How much watering does it require?
Not too much, it's just the pots. Everything in pots. I have to water, I water more or less every evening. But the rest of the garden, it takes care of itself.
You have pebbles as paving. Only one part of it is really paved.
Yeah.
Is it easy to maintain it?
Every few years I buy some more pebbles and just put on top just to freshen them up. But generally it's fine, and I just rake off the leaves and clean it up, and yeah, it's very easy to maintain.
But why did you choose pebbles?
I like the look of them. I love beaches, you know, the seaside beaches, so there's sort of all that going on, yeah.
Now regarding your studio, it looks quite clever. Did you design it yourself?
We went to an old horse show, and there they had a company that made stables for horses, and I said to them, if I did a drawing, could you make me a studio? And they said yes, and all I wanted was something that, so I could close the doors. So I made sort of a mini barn really, and it just delivered it on a truck, and myself and 2 friends carried it down the garden and we put it together, yes.
What about the rest of the woodwork here in the garden, including the decking?
Yeah, I've done all of that myself, because for years, when I left college, I went into advertising and worked in an advertising agency and hated it passionately. And so I left and started painting. But I wasn't making any money, so I needed to make some money. And I've always been quite handy, and so I used to do gardening and building work, and so I've always been able to do that. So yeah, I do everything myself, and I enjoy that actually. Yeah.
What is very interesting about this garden is that you have the vegetable beds right next to your front door. Why did you choose the side garden?
Vegetable boxes. It's the one part of the garden where from, I think, about April right the way through until September, October, November, the sun is always on that, because we're in the shadow of the big house next door, but the sun is always on that patch of driveway there, so it's a perfect place for vegetables.
What are you growing there?
There are broad beans, runner beans, all the salad crops, lettuce, radishes, pak choy, shallots, onions, anything I can grow really, anything except brassicas, you know, cabbage and that, which they take so much out of the soil and it's sort of a waste of time really. And herbs, lots of herbs.
You have plants in pots. How often do you change the soil in the pots?
When the plants seem to get too big, then I tend to pop them on into a bigger pot. But some of the things have been in pots for quite a long time, and I think that it's not so much the soil, it's how you feed the plant that's the answer. So I tend to feed again with the pelleted chicken manure and just water it in, and they seem to be okay.